Folks, real quick, we're going to get started in a second, but we're just making a little technical, I don't know if they informed you or not, but we're actually going to mic the questions to assist with live stream. So this way people can hear your questions. You know, people have worked long and hard and thought long their questions, and they're going to be unbelievably fair and good. So we want to make sure we get all that on mic. So just be patient. We're going to get the mic to you, then identify yourself, and then answer your questions. So this way it's caught on live stream, and you know, all your bosses do your action.
Also, we got one there. All right, we're going to start in about a minute or so. All right. So, in order for the people to hear the questions at home, we're going to try something with microphones today. All right. So, if you have questions, just raise your hand. We'll have someone with a microphone come over to you. Not yet, guys. Not yet. All right, guys, heads up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here, and welcome to One Police Plaza. In a moment, we will go over the current crime figures for you and update the public on the work our department is doing to keep them safe. But first, I want to thank again the thousands of NYPD officers who worked on July 4th. Like on most holidays, their families celebrated without them because they were out there working to keep our city safe. And they know, like all of us up here know, that work is never finished. So they remain committed, and the pursuit of public safety is relentless. This is what New Yorkers expect from their police department. This is what they deserve, and that is what the NYPD is going to deliver. And I know we are not here to talk about July, but this past 5-day holiday weekend showed us why that work is so important. In 2020, from July 1st to the morning of July 5th, there were 49 shootings in New York City. Last year, in that same time frame, there were 43 shootings. And this year, during that same time frame, there were 23. We're down about 50% in shootings. And we know any single shooting is unacceptable. We know that. But the reality is, the work of your NYPD officers is making a real difference. And we are not letting up, now or ever. Now, as we look back on the month of June and the first half of the year, we can see steady progress in the NYPD's fight against violence and disorder. And as we head into the summer months, we are confident that our work will continue to make a positive impact on this city and improve the lives of all the people we serve. Major crime in New York City is down nearly 4% for the month of June. And these reductions have halted the uptick we are seeing in the second quarter and year to date. Murders also continue to decline over the first half of 2023, which is a data point that goes far beyond the numbers. We are talking about saving lives. And that does not happen by accident. It is a direct result of focused, intelligence-driven policing. And it speaks to the significant value of the NYPD's crime reduction strategies. Those strategies have proven effective over the past 6 months, with 5 of the 7 major crime categories all lower than they were at this point last year. But we know that there is still much more work to do, and we fully understand the challenges we face. So wherever crime lingers in our city, we are facing it head on. We are concentrating our efforts in the neighborhoods that need us the most, which is a driving motivation behind our Summer Violence Reduction Plan. Since the program began in early May, major crime in our deployment zones has decreased by more than 13% compared to last year. Shootings have gone down by nearly 12%, and shooting victims decreased by about 25%. These declines mirror what we have seen regarding shootings citywide, and again, this is no coincidence. From the beginning of this administration, we made the fight against gun violence our top priority. We addressed this issue at a press conference earlier this week, and we will continue to address it, because there are still far too many illegal guns on our streets and too many criminals willing to carry them and pull the trigger. But our focus on guns, which plagues communities all across our nation, has led to clear, tangible change here in New York City. Shootings have decreased citywide for the past 13 consecutive weeks. I'll say that again. Shootings have decreased citywide for the past 13 consecutive weeks, and in 23 of the 26 weeks so far this year. Most importantly, this has led to a dramatic reduction in shooting victims across all 5 boroughs. So far in 2023, nearly 200 fewer New Yorkers have been shot compared to the first 6 months of 2022. Again, that is not just a number. These are hundreds of real people, hundreds of families who are spared the devastating impacts of gun violence. But again, until shootings and shooting victims are down 100%, we will never be satisfied with just numbers. And as I said before, one shooting victim is one too many. One victim of any crime, for that matter, is one too many. But our promise to the people we serve is clear. We will never waver in our mission to keep every New Yorker in every New York City neighborhood safe and free from fear. That is our job, and nobody does it better than the men and women of the NYPD. Now I'd like to turn it over to our Chief of Department, Jeff Mandry, who will provide some further details. Chief Mandry.
Thank you, Commissioner. The decrease in numbers that Chief LaPetri is about to give you do not tell the whole story. Knowing this all too well, we developed a comprehensive crime strategy plan with multiple layers that enlist the help of our community partners and task the men and women of the NYPD with this joint endeavor. In May, the department created summer deployment zones to address crime hotspots throughout our city. Our executives are sending more than 1,000 cops, additional officers, into these zones each day to keep New Yorkers safe. Using the latest technology and getting direct input from the community, we are putting our officers where they're needed, and quite frankly, where they're wanted. We understand that each crime represents a potential grandfather, grandmother, mother, father, or child, each one with their own story. And I'm proud to report that we have driven major crime down and shootings down in those deployment zones. This week, more importantly, this week we sworn just under 1,500 new participants in our fight against crime. 1,000 of those participants are young people, children, all members of the police department's summer youth employment program, taking jobs in police facilities around the city. And then yesterday, our police commissioner swore in 441 new police recruits. They are the first recruits sworn in since the new contract with our largest union, the PBA. And we're going to keep going. We will keep recruiting members of the community to police with us, to partner with us. The downward crime trends in this city is a testament of the hard work of our officers and the members of the community working together. So now Chief LaPetri is going to give you more in depth of these crime numbers. Chief LaPetri.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Commissioner. The Commissioner talked about the July 4th weekend. So when we look back between the hours of 8 p.m. on July 4th to approximately 0600 on July 5th, which historically has been an extremely violent night. We look at the 10 shooting incidents. The NYPD was present for 6 out of those 10 incidents. Not just there at that time. We were there for hours, policing very, very tough scenes. Some of those scenes had hundreds of people present. With the hundreds of people present came fireworks, disorderly groups, quality of life conditions, and guess what? A lot of them had guns on them also. So 6 out of 10 were present. Can you imagine if we weren't in the right areas, if we weren't in the summer deployment zones that Chief Madry was talking about, would have been a lot more people shot across New York City. Every patrol borough across the city saw less shooting victims than this quarter from last year. Every single patrol borough. Let me go back to the quality of life enforcement. The NYPD has issued 10,000 more criminal court summonses for quality of life offenses than the same quarter last year. We've issued 5,000 more OAT summonses this quarter compared to last. So what are we issuing, and who are we issuing to? We're issuing the summonses that people call relentlessly 311 or 911 about. Your disorderly groups, your public urination, and your alcohol in public. We look at 7 major arrests for the second quarter. I've been saying this now for the last few years. We're still at a 25-year high. But guess what? When you go back 25 years, that's 1998. 1998 had 20,000 more index crimes than this quarter. So we're clearing a lot more, making arrests on a lot more index crimes than we were in 1998. That's precision policing. That's the men and women out there every day putting handcuffs on the right people. So let's talk about the right people. Let's look at grand larcenies. Yes, we're down for grand larcenies, but grand larcenies also make up 40% of the crime in New York City. We saw an increase starting in the beginning of this year, really, with pickpocket teams across New York City. Something we really haven't seen at this level, or we have not seen at this level in a very long time. So a plan was put in place. Our Transit Bureau, who's had pickpocket teams for a very long time, trained patrol officers in Queens North, Manhattan South, and Manhattan North. Why those 3 boroughs? Because we follow the data. And the data showed us that tourists, hardworking New Yorkers, were getting pickpocketed by these very professional teams. Look at our pickpocket arrests. We're up 100% in same-day pickpocket arrests than we were same time last year. Precision policing. Take a look at our GLAs. We're up almost 1,000 GLAs. Why? Because you could basically steal a Hyundai or a Kia in seconds. Who are we arresting? 32% of our arrests for GLAs are under the age of 18. I know a lot of you were here in the beginning of the week. I gave you the same data. With guns, or similar data, I should say, with guns and shooting incidents. 12% of all our robbery arrests for the quarter, 12%, were under 16. 16, under 16, 12% of all our arrests. We're deploying in the right areas. We've identified approximately 68 zones across the city that unfortunately have a high propensity for violence. The commissioner alluded to it. In those zones, we are down in major crime, we're down in shootings, and we're up in enforcement. And it's not any enforcement. Again, we measure our enforcement. Is it at the right locations? Are we engaging the right people? And are we enforcing the right laws? And yes, we are. Thank you.
Can I open up to any questions?
All right, folks, as a reminder, please hold your questions. We have people with microphones, so the people that are watching at home will be able to hear your questions. Mary Lynn, News 12.
Thank you. Okay, so my name is Mary Lynn from News 12. My question's for Chief Madry. Chief, is there any update in the police investigation regarding the 5-year-old little girl that was shot in the Bronx on Friday?
So just real quick, I just want to add that Zamaya is doing very well. Zamaya is running around, and she's expected to get released from the hospital today. So we're keeping her and her family in our thoughts and prayers. And I have Assistant Chief Joe Kenny here from the Detective Bureau who will update you on the case.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, the update for the shooting of the 5-year-old that took place in the 4-7 precinct last Friday on June 30th. It was in front of 722 East 214th Street. As Commissioner Caban said, the child is still in the hospital. She's expected to be released sometime later today. Unfortunately, the bullet is still lodged in her chest cavity. We expect that she will undergo surgery sometime in the near future to have it removed, and thankfully she will survive her injuries. As far as the investigation goes, we are aggressively attempting to locate the 2 shooters from this case. Our hunt has led us to multiple states. Members of the NYPD Fugitive Enforcement Unit and the Regional Fugitive Task Force, including the U.S. Marshal Service, are actively pursuing these 2 perpetrators. They are Curtis White, male black, 26, of 2715 Decatur Avenue, Bronx, New York. He has 2 prior collars, one a gun charge in Georgia, and one a non-fatal shooting in the Bronx. Our second perpetrator, Austin Morrishow, male black, 25, from 149 Bryant Avenue in the Bronx. He has 2 priors as well, a federal gun charge in the Bronx and a robbery in the Bronx. Both of these males should be considered armed and dangerous. If seen, call 911 immediately or call the NYPD Crime Stopper tip line at 1-800-577-TIPS. All tips will be kept anonymous.
Mark Santia, NBC.
Mark Santia, WNBC. Commissioner, can you talk a little bit about you're talking about numbers and stats being down, but for the folks who live in these areas, for the residents there who see this violence, what's your message to them, perception versus numbers? What would you tell residents?
Thank you for that question, Mark. We acknowledge the fact that even one shooting is one too many. I understand the concerns of the families affected by gun violence. I am a father, a husband, a brother. I grew up in the Bronx, in this city, and that's why I went to visit our 5-year-old shooting victim, Zamaya, this past weekend. I understand their concerns about what we're doing. I think we have to have a real dialogue with everyone here in this room about the perception of gun violence and what everyone here contributes to that perception. We talk about how gun violence impacts our neighborhoods. I talked about 13 weeks in a row, gun violence being down in our city, how this past holiday weekend was the safest weekend in years. And that is because of the work that the men and women of the NYPD are doing. That matters. My question to all of you in this room is how are you going to tell this story to New Yorkers? Because that matters too.
Tony DiStefano, Newsday.
Tony DiStefano, Newsday. This is a question for either Chief LaPetrie or Commissioner Caban. The other day you had an array of some weapons that were seized just before the 4th of July. Where are you in terms of gun seizures or weapon seizures in the city this year compared to last year? And if it's in the thousands, are we in a situation where the stream of guns is somewhat unstoppable?
Chief LaPetrie from Crime Control Strategies will handle that question.
Good afternoon, Tony. So we've seized approximately 3,200 handguns this year, down slightly from last year. But I will tell you this, the last 3 years of gun arrests and gun seizures are all record highs that you have to go back 27 years to get similar numbers. Tony, we've spoken so many times about the gun arrests. We just had an individual that was killed in the Bronx on Morris Avenue in the 4-6. He's been arrested twice, unfortunately, over the past few months with being involved in gun violence. One being in possession of a firearm, and the other being present at a shots fired incident in the Bronx. And when I looked at the victim's criminology, it jumped off the page at me saying, I just got arrested with a gun. He was just got arrested again in a shots fired. Unfortunately, how is he present at another scene and now as the victim? So the arrests are the highest in years with gun arrests. And we are arresting the right people with these guns, trust me. I mean, they're all the right people because they're possessing illegal firearms. But they're convicted felons already. They already have an open felony. But when you look at 130% increase in somebody getting either an ROR or, a bail not set or getting out from 2018, that's a problem. We need swift and certain consequences when it comes to certain arrests, and gun arrests are number one. Gun violence arrest, I should say.
Nicole Johnson, Pix 11.
Hello, Nicole Johnson, Pix 11. I just want to double down a bit on what my colleague asked about the perception. We went to the Bronx today after Bronx Borough President had her news conference, and we just talked to folks who live there. And what they're saying is they understand the numbers are looking better than years past. The perception is not meeting the numbers, according to some of the Bronx residents, because more young people are involved. And they're saying we have to change the culture. What do you say to that?
No, I have Chief Maggi who will talk about our youth strategies that we've been doing working with the youth here.
Yes, and Nicole, thank you for that question. And I understand the great people of the Bronx and how they feel. Even though the numbers are down, if you suffer from a shooting that happens on your block or a shooting that involves someone that you know, you're going to take it to heart, and it's going to seem like things are getting worse. So it's important for us that, as an agency, as a department, that we're working with the people of the Bronx, that our community affairs, our NCOs are spending time with people of the Bronx, making sure that they understand what's going on and making sure we do everything that we could possibly do to make them feel better and safer about their neighborhoods. Like I said earlier, 1,000 young people signed up yesterday for our summer youth employment program. Besides that, we have another 1,700 in our youth police academy. Of course, we have our explorers groups who will be sending away to summer camps. And there's a lot of independent programs in other neighborhoods that our precincts are partnering with local CBOs and churches to work with. Up in Manhattan, we have TAG, Teaching a Generation, that we work closely with, and they have a lot of young kids that come out, and we talk about real issues that go on. And we're just trying to encourage our young people to stay away from a lot of the ills that are out here in the streets. And we'll be working diligently, all our officers will be working diligently to make sure our young people are safe, to work closely with them, and to work with the people of the Bronx and all our communities to make sure they understand what's really going on and how we can make each block safer.
Chief, I'm sorry, I do have a follow-up question. Different topic. It's been reported that the NYPD is doing more vehicle pursuits. Is that true? And if so, why more vehicle pursuits now than before?
You know what, Nicole, I'm going to turn that over to the Chief Patrol, Chief Shell.
Hi, Nicole, thank you for that question. When our team arrived down here last June 2022, one of the biggest complaints we got from all walks of the community was complaints about illegal dirt bikes and what we call ghost cars. Okay, cars that drive around this community with reckless behavior, like a care in the world, like they don't have to answer anybody. Okay, we also realized that the street violence we were getting at the time involved these same types of vehicles as relates to robberies and shootings. So we made a pledge, no more. You are not going to drive around this city in a reckless manner thinking you can do whatever you want to do with your attitude and commit crimes at that rate. So what did we do? We created a community response team to assist our patrol boroughs. And by doing so, what have been the results? I could tell you the calls for service through 911 as relates to reckless driving on our streets and our highways are down 104%. I could tell you this year alone, we've taken illegal bikes and ghost cars off the street, 9,700, 25,000 for the last 2 years. I'd like to think those efforts by our great cops, I know it has reduced street robberies and street violence and shootings. That 25% reduction is definitely in correlation with our community response teams. Nicole, at the end of the day, on Friday night when an 87-year-old man gets carjacked, are we not supposed to pursue him like we did and shut down the highway and make an arrest and give closure to that grandfather and get his car back? Absolutely. July 5th, Morris Avenue, are we not supposed to engage a white car with mismatched plates that 2 occupants felt the need to chase kids down a block and fire 12 rounds into a crowd, killing an 18-year-old kid who was an aspiring singer? Yeah, we're going to chase that car, and we did. And we got 2 arrests. They were drawn up for murder yesterday. Are we not supposed to engage a scooter that drives down Familia Avenue in Washington Heights with 2 occupants, with cops standing 50 feet away, riding to see someone's urination, and someone jumps off that moped, walks off the gentleman in front of his building enjoying 4th of July, shoot and kill him? Are we not supposed to engage that? We will. So yes, and then with the enforcement of more moving summonses and car stops, and people thinking they can take off on us, those days are over. So yes, vehicle pursuits are up. We have better monitoring from our supervisors. I'll say it again, the days of driving around this city lawless doing what you think you're going to do, it's over.
All right, take one of the Division.
Sorry, Mariela Salgado from Univision. Chief Madry, continuing on the theme about the Bronx, we've been covering a lot of the murders that have happened there, and people are telling us, as well as organizations like Bronx Connect, that although we have more programs for the youth and they are enrolling, we're not going to see results until we start investing in them way younger, because there's a window where you lose them, and if they're gone, you can't get them back. Just wondering, what were your thoughts on that, sir?
You know, and I agree with a lot of those sentiments. We have to go after our children at a younger age. And more importantly, when we expanded our youth coordination officer program early in the year, because of some of the incidents that we saw that were happening around our schools, one of the things we really asked of our YCOs were to really go after the young people who we're losing, not the young people who already are involved in programs or are willing to come to programs. We want them to really go after the young people who parents are having a hard time with, who, you know, the ones that seem to be lost already or that we're losing to the streets. So that's one of the things that we're really focusing on as well. We want to really go after those young people who are really caught up into the streets and to a lot of the things that are going on, and really try to bring them back over and bring them into the good programs. A lot of young people are enrolling in the programs, but we have to get the kids who are really caught up in the streets to come to the programs as well. Yes.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time and attention. Thank you.